Yeah, morning all. Before I start, can anyone please confirm whether my voice is clear, whether the screen is visible or not, right?
Yep.
So in the last class, I was discussing about Python software foundation, Python versions, Python installation and execution modes, right? Two modes of execution, interactive mode and batch mode. Interactive mode only to test the functionalities of Python and to learn Python. Batch mode, we write batch of statements, set of statements within the editors or IDEs and save it by using .py extension and later submitting to Python, right? Various editors where we can write the Python code, Notepad, Edit Plus, and within this Vijay On Nano, within the Linux environment. Various IDEs, PyCharm, PyDev, Commodore, Spider, Eclipse, NetBeans, Jupyter Notebook, VS Code, right? So for different Python is used in different environments uses different IDs. Yes, PyCharm is the mostly used one among all, right? Yes. So developing the first Python application using a editor, developing the first Python application. Developing the first Python application within a editor. The first Python application within a editor. Example like Notepad. Open Notepad and type the following, right? Yes. And type the following Python statements. Open Notepad and type the following Python statements, right? X is 10, right? Y is 20. Up to now, we didn't discuss anything about this Python technicals, right? Yes. So just taking two values, just I want to perform some kind of arithmetic operations, right? Print x plus y, x minus y, x into y, and x by y. Addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, like arithmetic operations, right? X into y, x by y. The first Python using editor, right? Example like Notepad. X is 10, y is 20, addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, right? I'm copying this to a separate Notepad file, right? Creating a Python file using Notepad. Open Notepad and just I am writing this code. Save it as .py extension. File, save. See that 7 a.m. 7 a.m. batch, right? Sample one .py extension. Now Save as sample1.py and submit now. Submit this file. Submit this file to Python. Submit this file to Python as. Submit this file to Python as, right? Yes. Go to the command prompt and type Python and specify the path where the file is available, right? Specify the path within the C drive. Within the C drive, right? Python 7 AM batch. Sample1.py. Let's check this. Say enter, it gives the output. 10 plus 20, 10 minus 20, 10 into 20, 10 by 20. 10 plus 20, 10 minus 20, 10 into 20, and 10 by 20. Okay. Yes. But what is your observation here? But here, so we are going to the command prompt and typing Python and specifying the entire file path, the file name, in which folder and which directory, the entire path we are submitting to Python. We are getting the output, right? But here we are writing the code. We are writing the code, right? At one place. Means within the notepad you are writing and executing at the other place and executing at the other place. Where we are executing within the command prompt. We are writing the code at one place and executing at the other place within the command prompt. But to write and execute, at the same place, we have IDLE, Integrated Development Learning Environment. We have IDLE, which comes along with Python installation, which comes along with Python installation, right? Using which we can write and execute. We can write and execute at the same place. We have IDLE, which comes along with Python installation, using which we can write and execute at the same place. Which comes along with Python, using which we can write and execute at the same place. Using which we can write and execute at the same place. Okay, now let me show you how to open this IDLE and how can we write the code and execute the code at the same place. Instead of writing within the notepad and executing at the command prompt, just how to open this. I'm just copying the same code. Yes, the same code. If you type IDLE here, IDLE, this IDLE gets open of Python 3.11 or 3.10, whichever you want. Otherwise, go to your start programs. Check where your Python are available. Right. Within this Python 3.11 IDLE, you can see, right? Yes, click it. File, new file. Yes, save it. Whenever you say IDLE, right? This Python shell gets opened in interactive mode. In interactive mode, it opens, right? File, new file to execute within the batch mode. Once again, I'm saying, whenever you say file, new file, here you won't see the run option here. You won't see file, new file. If you say only, you will see the run option here. Save your code. I'm writing the code here. Save your code. Python 7 a.m. batch, right? Save it as sample2.py. Run module. Addition, subtraction, multiplication. So you're writing the code here itself. We are executing the code here itself, right? Writing the code here itself and executing the code here itself. Run option is there. Run module. So ideally, just to go to this start programs. Otherwise, in the search, you can say IDLE if we type, and if you say this enter, like Python shell gets opened, and say file, new file, and write your code and execute your code, right? Later, I'll show you how to work on this IDs, right? How to download these IDs, downloading these IDs, and working with IDs. Okay. Now, variables, data types, and variables in Python. Entering into the technicals of this Python, right? Data types and variables. Every organization, if you talk like every organization, use case has got data and operations. Every organization use case has got data and operations. Data represented using data types or variables. Operations represented using functions. Functions, that is not part of our discussion now. We will discuss it later. But data represented using data types or variables. For example, if you take any organization, for example, if you take the example of a bank, customer and employees. Customer, right? Customer has got data and operation. Data like customer name, customer account number, balance, address, right? And operations like deposit, withdraw, transfer, all these operations. Operations represented using functions. Yes. So if I talk about this data types and variables, right? So yes. If I compare this with C or C++ or Java with Python, C or C++ or Java with Python, Python supports dynamic data types. It supports dynamic data types. In other programming language, if I want to create a variable like X, I need to say like int, I need to define the data types. Y as 4.5, I need to define as float. Z equal to hello. Compulsory, I need to define like string Z. So without this data type defining, we cannot create this variable X, Y, or Z. We cannot create the variable X, Y, and Z. But in Python, directly we can say X as 10, Y as 4.5, Z as hello. No need to define that data types here in Python. What value you are assigning to X, based on the value assigned, the variable X is created dynamically. Here, what kind of variable X is means integer based on the data type defining. What kind of variable Y is means based on this data type defining, it is float. What kind of variable Z is means like string type. X has 10, Y has 4.5, Z has hello, right? So if you're assigning integer value, integer variable created. Type of X. Type of X is what type? Integer type. Type of X is what? Integer type. Type of Y is what type? Y it is integer because you assigned the integer value. There is a function in Python, type function, to know the type of a variable. Type of Y is float. Why it is float? Because you assigned a float value. Type of Z, HELL, right? It's a string type. So based upon the value assigned, the variables are created dynamically here in Python. Yes. So here I'll be discussing 4 cases to make you understand much on this data types, right? Yes. Yes. Case 1. X is 10. What happens internally whenever I define some variables here? Whenever you define like X as 10, internally one object gets created with value 10. It's going to have some address. This address is given to X. What X is storing? Don't say X is storing 10. X stores this address. If I say, you need to understand 3 things here. If I say print X, prints the content, prints the content at that address. Whenever I say print X, right? Whenever I say print X, goes to this address and prints the content at that address. Prints the content at that address. That is what? 10. Print ID of X. Prints the address. So whenever you say print X, it goes to this address and prints the whatever content presented it. If ID of X, ID is one more function given by Python, prints the address to print the address of X, prints the address of X. 103070. Type of X. Type is another function, right? Type of X prints the data type of X. Data type of X is what type? Int type. Yes, to print the content, to print the address, and print the type. To printing the content of the variable, address of the variable, type of the variable. Yes, this is case 1, right? Yes. Now observe this case 2. So from here on, everyone try to unmute yourself and try to give your responses, right? Through voice or through chat panel. Either you can unmute yourself and write your responses through voice or through chat. You can enter your responses in the chat. See case 2. If I am defining 2 variables, X as 10, Y as 20. How many variables are creating? How many objects gets created? X as 10, Y as 20. 10, one object with some address. The address is given to X. For Y equal to 20, one more object with value 20 and with some address. This address is given to Y. X is 10, Y is 20. Yes, for object 10, 1, and for object 20, right. Now try to answer print X. What is the X value? Everyone, try to answer print X. 10. If I want to print the address ID of X, 103070. Type of X, integer type. Print Y, yes, print Y. What is that Y value? Yes, everyone.
20.
20. Address of y, yes. ID of y,
104080.
yeah, 104080. Type of y, yes.
Integer.
Type of y is integer because you have assigned a integer value. Two different variables with two different values, then two different objects with two different addresses, right? Yes, case 2. Case 3. This is case 2, right? Different variables with different values, different objects, and different addresses. Case 3. X equal to 10. Y equal to 10. How many objects are created? Yes. X is 10, Y is 10. How many objects will be created here?
Only one.
Everyone, try to answer.
Only one.
Yes.
One object.
One object only will be created with some address. The address given to X. Before creating object for Y, it checks any object with value 10 is already available. Any object with value 10 is already available. Any object with value 10 is already available, right? Yes. If available, the same address will be given, right? X is 10, Y is 10. If Z also 10, don't think like three objects with value 10, 10, 10 will be created. Only one object gets created with value 10 and its address is given to X, Y, and Z. X, Y, and Z, they are sharing the same content and the address. They are sharing the same content and the address. If X is 10, Y is 20, Z is 30, then three different objects, three different addresses. Three different objects will be created, but the values are same, only one object. I can say like print X equal to print Y, print Z. What is that? 10. ID of X, ID of Y, and ID of Z. Type of X, yes, print type of X. Type of Y and the type of Z. What type? Into type. Print X, print Y, print Z. Address of X, address of Y, and address of Z. 103070. Type of X, type of Y, and type of Z. What type? Into type. Case 4, observe here case 4, right? X value is 10, y, x is 10 and x is 20. X and x only here, not x and y. For 10, one object gets created with value 10 and with some address. The address given to x. Y equal to 20. One object with some address. 104090. This address is given to x. If I say print x, if I am saying print x, print x 20, address of x 104090, type of x integer, right? So print x means it always prints 20. The latest value it is going to print. Always the latest value it prints, the latest address, the type. What happens to this previous object? Is there any possibility of printing its value? Second time, if I say print x, it will print 20. Third time also prints 20. Fourth time. Every time it prints 20 only, right? Yes. Any possibility of printing this 10 means? Yes. To understand what happened to this previous object x equal to 10, right? We need to understand a small concept like garbage collector. It's too early to discuss that concept, but just I'll give overview, right? What happens to this previous object? 10, right? For that, I'll go back to this case 3. What is garbage collector, right? Garbage collector. It removes, garbage collector removes unused or unreferred objects from the memory. Unreferred objects. Unused or unreferred objects from the memory. Removes unused or unreferred objects from the memory. Unused or unreferred objects from the memory, right? Yes. What do you say? What do you mean by unused, unreferred objects? What do you mean by unused or unreferred objects? Objects removes unused or unreferred objects from the memory means objects whose reference count becomes 0. Objects whose reference count becomes 0. Object whose reference count becomes 0. Yes. We call them as unused or unreferred objects. Then immediately that object gets removed. object gets removed by the garbage collector. Automatically. Objects whose reference count becomes zero, then immediately that object gets removed by the garbage collector automatically. What do you mean by reference count becoming zero, and what is reference count? How it becomes zero? Reference count. Reference count nothing but number of variables. Number of variables pointing to an object. Number of variables pointing to an object, or number of variables storing, number of variables pointing to an object, or number of variable storing address of an object. Number of variables storing address of an object gives the reference count. Number of variables pointing to an object, number of variables storing address of an object, right? This reference count. So to make you understand about this garbage collector reference count, right? Just everyone try to answer. What is the reference count of this object 10? This object 10, right? What is the reference count? Means how many variables are pointing to this? How many variables are pointing to this?
3.
X is, yeah, 3, right? X is pointing, Y is pointing, Z is pointing. So reference count is 3. Understood what is reference count? Number of variables pointing to it. And how, when this garbage collector removes this object, and how this reference count becomes 0 means slowly I am modifying the Y value to 20. Means one object created with some address, the address given to Y. Now, Y is pointing to the new object. Y is not pointing to this. Y is not pointing. Okay. So here Y value, a new Y is pointing to the new object 20. Y is not pointing to this. Y is not pointing to this. Now reference count becomes what? Reference count becomes decreases to 2. Only X and Z are pointing to this. Y is made to point to the new object 20. Slowly I'm modifying Y to 30. Y is modified to 30. And give this address to Z. Just provide this address to Z. Now Z is pointing to the new object. Z is not pointing to this. Z is not pointing to this, right? Yes. Yes. Now slowly I'll modify. Now reference count becomes what? 1. Only X is pointing. Y and Z, they are pointing to two different objects. Only X is pointing to this. Now slowly I'll modify the X value also to 50, right? So now 50 with some new address. The address is given to this. Now X is pointing to the new one, right? So reference count to become, now X is not pointing to this. Reference count becomes 0. Then whenever reference count becomes 0, so what we call unused or unreferred object. We say it as unused or unreferred object. So this object is going to get removed, right? This object is going to get removed. This object is going to get removed, right, from the memory. Yes. Understood, right? Whenever any object reference count becomes 0, then the object is going to get removed from the memory. Yes. Understood, everyone? What is garbage collector? When it removes the object, how this reference count becomes 0? Any query in this, anyone, right? Yes. Yes. Yeah. Pradeep Karra, right? Yes. So once again, I'm saying the batch timing for the next 2-3 days will be at 7 a.m. But the regular timing of this batch will be at 8 o'clock up to the end of the course. The batch timing will be 8 a.m. 8 to 9, right? Up to the end of the course. Okay, so based on this understanding, we'll go back to this case 4, right? I was forget about this x equal to 20, x equal to 10. What is the reference count of this object? 10 means reference count is 1, right? Only X is pointing, but slowly I modified the X to 20 means X is pointed to the new object. X is not pointing to this. So reference count becomes 0. Reference count becoming 0 means this object is going to get removed. The object is going to go, okay, from the memory. Okay, fine. So I'll be showing you all these 4 cases practically. Just I'll take 5 minutes. So open this ideally, right? File, new file, right? Case 1, right? Case 1, defining a variable. Defining a variable, right? Yes. X is 10. Yes. Print X, type of X is print X, print type of X, print ID of X. Print X, type of X, and ID of X, right? Yes. Just observe this run print X means it is printing 10. Type of X is what type? Integer. Address means this is the address where exactly it is stored. Printing the content, printing the type, printing the address. Yes. File, new file. Case 2. Observe this case 2. File, new file, you can say for creating one more program code. Yes. Okay. Case 2, defining. What is case 2? X is 10, Y is 20. Two different variables xy with two different values, then two different objects, two different addresses, right? Yes. Yes, I'm coming back to your queries, right? Yes. I'll just 5 minutes. X is 10, y is 20. Yes. Defining two different variables. Defining two different variables. Defining two different variables with two different values, then two different objects. Gets created. Defining two different variables with two different values, then two different objects with two different addresses. Print X, type of X, ID of X, right? Yes, I'm copying these 3 lines for this Y, print Y, type of Y, ID of Y. Type of Y and ID of Y. Check this. So this is series address, different addresses, right? Different values, right? Now observe this case 3. X is 10, Y also 10. Defining two different variables with same values. Two different variables with same values. Two different variables with same values. Then only one object gets created. Two different variables with same values. Then only one object gets created and its address is returned to both. X is 10, Y is 10. Print X, type its address, print Y, type and its address. So address of X and address of Y will be same, right? Because same content, same values, same addresses. Defining X. See, next case for is X is 10, X is 20. Defining two variables with same names. X and X only, two variables with same name, but with different values, then two different objects gets created, and the previous one gets removed. Defining two variables with same name but with different values, then two different objects gets created and the previous one gets removed. X equal to 10, X equal 20. Always it prints 20, type of 20 and address of 20. Any query in this, anyone? So there are some queries asked, right? Yes. So that I said for the next 2-3 days, it will be at 7 o'clock. The batch timing will be at 8 o'clock, 8 to 9 in the morning, up to the end of the course. And the evening regular batch timing, right? Evening regular class timing. Okay. From tomorrow, there is a new batch going to start at 7 p.m. Demos goes at 7 p.m. But the regular batch timing will be at 8 p.m. in the evening. So if you start Python, right, on what was that one more query? Is it possible to join evening 8 p.m. Python batch if you miss morning Python batch class? Yes, you can attend once if you got registered, you can attend that evening class, right? If you attend any, if you got enrolled, right, you can attend any of my batch.
Also, when the regular class is started?
Okay, so yesterday we have started with this installation and other things, right? So tomorrow also you can attend the session using the same link, same time, but from day after tomorrow, the link will be changing.
Sir,
So-
when the regular class is started?
So here it continues. This batch is going to continue from here on, like same thing.
Okay.
From
Sir, actually, I want to join evening classes. Because of that, I missed morning classes actually.
Yes, my evening class means tomorrow, like evening at 7 p.m.
No,
You will have
actually,
the
I want to join regular classes evening.
Mhm. Evening regular classes means okay. At 6 p.m. you can join.
Okay, 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. na, sir?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Next in the morning, 7 to 8.
Morning to next 2 to 3 days it will be at 7 o'clock, but from Monday onwards it will be at 8 o'clock up to the end of the course. Yes, you can also use Jupyter Notebook, but Jupyter Notebook mostly used for data science environment. We'll be using PyCharm IDE, right? PyCharm is the mostly used for Python, right?
Hey, hi, sir. Yesterday, I remember you saying we'll be starting PySpark classes. So may I know when will you be starting those classes?
Yeah, weekend batches will be there for PySpark. So last week, actually, a PySpark batch was started last week. So if you're interested, you can just go to the video and you can join this week, right? What is it? Saturday for like 4 to 6 on Saturday, and Sunday also 4 to 6 it will be.
4 to 6 p.m., right?
Yes, evening 4 to 6. Sunday also 4 to 6. So there was batch started. There was a batch started last week. Okay.
Okay.
Just
Thank
one
you.
thing. For
Will I-
PySpark, is there any prerequisites? Means we have knowledge, we should knowledge of Python like that, or we
Basic
can join directly.
basic Python knowledge is required.
Hmm, okay.
Fine. But anyhow, I'll be discussing more on this Spark for the first 2-3 weeks, right? So by the time, okay, you can complete Python core if you're also doing parallelly Python, right? For the first
Hmm.
2-3 weeks, I'll be briefing you on this Spark and Spark architecture and Spark these things, right? Yes.
One more query. So if I join that
my
last week's classes, will I be missing anything, or can I continue? Are those just demo classes?
Yes, you can just go through the video, right? Meanwhile, you have what 2-3 days time, right? 3-4 by the Saturday. You can go through all those videos. If you've got any queries, you can ask me up.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
You can just talk to that, right? Online team. They have provided the numbers, right? You can check it in the chart. Yes. In the chart, you can see their numbers, right? About any PySpark. And also, if you see in the chart, demo videos of Python and Python course content and total Python Django UI course content. For Python, it is 5,000. For the full stack, it is 10,000, right? So, okay, tomorrow you can attend the session. From day after tomorrow, the link of Python will be changing, right? Yes. Okay, fine. I'm stopping for now. We'll continue tomorrow. Fine. Thank you all for your time. Thank you. Meet you tomorrow.